Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. Now, do you know why human height stops increasing after a certain age, but weight can still increase? It's quite interesting, right? So let's get answer this question. Before going to this question, that height and weight, that is the function of growth hormone, which is a very important hormone. Okay, and we will see that interplay of growth hormone in our body, its effects, its function, what happens actually. So here I take two pictures for my reference. In one picture we can see that tall man, his height is his height is so much, instead of the his height is so much in compared to the normal persons. And here is the man whose width, body weight, and he is so much broader, right? So we will know the cause of this kind of personalities. Basically they are giant personality, and this phenomena is known as gigantism. So we will know the cause of gigantism. So see here, growth hormone, growth hormone also known as somatotropin, okay, and by nature, chemical nature, it is a peptide hormone, okay. That means it also having amino acid residue, and it's produced by the most important gland, that is the anterior pituitary. We already know that pituitary is also divided into two parts, anterior pituitary and posterior pituitary, and anterior pituitary secretes growth hormone. So it plays a crucial role in growth, development, and metabolism in both children and adults. Okay, so growth means any kinds of organ development, and metabolism means our food, right? Carbohydrate, protein, fat metabolism and production of energy in both kind of things is maintained by growth hormone. So definitely we need to know or understand the regulators of growth hormone secretion within our body. Everything, every secretion of every hormone is very much selective, right? If we need to develop our organ system, then we need to secrete some kind of certain growth hormone. But if that organ is already developed, if we already have developed our height, then it will not increase. So we have to stop the secretion of growth hormone, right? So its secretion and in with time its inhibition, both are very much important. So regulators are hypothalamic hormones, like those hormones. Hypothalamus also secrete two kinds of hormones, like the releasing factors and inhibiting factors, right? Hypothalamus secrete releasing factor and inhibiting factor. So the releasing factor for growth hormone is GHRH, that is growth hormone releasing hormone, and its function is to stimulate the secretion of growth hormone and is released from hypothalamus. So after secretion from the hypothalamus, it act on the anterior pituitary, so that anterior pituitary secrete growth hormone. Okay, so here is the flow chart, that hypothalamus, it is secreting this GHRH, and its act on the pituitary, specifically anterior pituitary, and anterior pituitary also secretes this growth hormone. And after secretion, this growth hormone act on the several organs and tissues, like adipose tissue. This tissue contains the fat, okay, stores the fats, and most importantly it also act on the liver, and it secretes IGF-1, that is insulin like growth factor 1, that cause the growth of the organs, and stomach that secretes ghrelin. Okay, this is also important for the secretion of growth hormone. And who are the stimulators of growth hormone secretions? Like stress and exercise. Okay, these situations are helpful for the secretion of growth hormone. But secretion is also coincides with the inhibition. That means its regulation is also important. Otherwise, growth hormone production will be so high within the body, and anything is more that is harmful, right? So we must control our growth hormone. So the growth hormone controlling hormone is the somatostatin. Okay, so this is the growth hormone inhibiting hormone, that is GHIH, and its function is inhibit GH secretion, and it is also released from hypothalamus. So hypothalamus release SST, that is the GHIH, that is the GHIH somatostatin, and it also act on the pituitary so that it stops the growth hormone secretion. Okay, and another regulation is given by that IGF-1, that it also, its production also reach to that part of the hypothalamus and stop, or it tells the hypothalamus that do not secrete GHRH. Okay, because it's already within the blood, growth hormone is so high within the body, so now you have to stop secretion of growth hormone. Okay, so this free fatty acid also inhibit this growth hormone secretion. This growth hormone inhibit its secretion by itself. Okay, so these are the control regulation of the growth hormone. Okay, so in this slide we have seen that the secretion, that the releasing factors that are responsible for the secretion of growth hormone, as well as its feedback mechanism, that how it get controlled by the secretion of IGF-1, FFA, that is the free fatty acid, and growth hormone itself, and the growth hormone itself. Okay, actions of growth hormone. Growth promoting actions of GH. Growth hormone promotes linear growth of an individual by its effects on the bone, cartilage, and other connective tissue. So growth hormone promotes linear growth. That means equal growth of every parts of your body. It never happens that your tongue is too large, your nose is too long, your hands and feet are different kinds of length. Okay, it never happens because of the linear growth. Effects on cartilage. Growth stimulates the proliferation of chondrocytes. Chondrocytes are the cartilage cells present in the epiphyseal end plates of long bones. Long bones means humerus, femur, these are the long bones, and epiphyseal plates of the long bones. Here the deposition and proliferation of chondrocytes occurs, thus increases the thickness of the epiphyseal cartilage by depositing new cartilage. Okay, effects on bone. Growth hormone stimulates osteoblastic activity. Osteoblasts are the bone forming cells which converts cartilage into bone. This process continues up to adolescence till there is fusion of epiphyseal end plate with shaft of the bone, and this is the reason why height cannot increase after a certain age. Our height gets stunted, our height gets stuck after a certain age because of the fusion of epiphyseal end plate and shaft of the bone, shaft of the shoulder joint and epiphyseal of the humerus. They get fused after a certain age so that their length get stuck after a certain age. Okay. Next is the mode of action. As described above, the effects of growth hormone on growth is mediated by a hormone, that is somatomedins, or also called insulin-like growth factors, IGFS. Okay, insulin-like growth factors. It promotes the activities, effects on cartilage and effects on bone. Next is the metabolic actions. Metabolic actions means the digestion of fats, carbohydrates and proteins and production of energy. So the action of growth hormone on protein metabolism, resemble that of insulin, while action of on fat and carbohydrate metabolism that are antagonistic to insulin, that means opposite function, it plays opposite function, and synergistic with cortisol. It appears that influence of GH on carbohydrate and fat metabolism is produced directly and is not mediated by IGF-1. So the point to remember that IGF-1 is particular for protein metabolism. It is not helpful for the fat and carbohydrate metabolism. Okay. So effects on protein metabolism, growth hormone has an anabolic effect, that means add-on effect on protein metabolism, that it can synthesize protein. How it synthesizes protein? It increases the rate of amino acid uptake, the precursor for protein, and it also increases protein synthesis within the ribosomes, that are the site of protein synthesis, and stimulates transcription, that means RNA synthesis from DNA. Okay. The overall effect of GH on protein metabolism is positive nitrogen balance that leads to increase in body weight. Next, effects on fat. So metabolic effects, the effects on fat. So fat metabolism, GH promotes lipolysis, and this action is catabolic in nature, catabolism, because here occurs the breakdown of the fat for utilization for energy. Administration of GH is associated with increased levels of circulating FFA, that means the free fatty acid. The plasma free fatty acids provide a ready source of energy for the tissues during hypoglycemia, and the fasting and stressful stimuli. Okay. Increased hepatic oxidation of FFA, that is the free fatty acid, produces ketone bodies. So ketone bodies formation. Now effects on carbohydrate metabolism. GH is antagonistic to insulin and produces hyperglycemia. Okay, by following effects on carbohydrate metabolism. So what happens? Increases gluconeogenesis, that means glucose generation of gluconeogenesis, that is increases hepatic glucose output, decreases the uptake as well as utilization of glucose by the tissues for energy production, and inhibits glycolysis. Okay, that is the breakdown of glucose. So it increases gluconeogenesis. Gluconeogenesis is the process by which we can form glucose, and glycolysis is breakdown of glucose. So it prevents glycolysis, it inhibits glycolysis, but it facilitates gluconeogenesis. Okay, and thus glycogen stores tend to increase. Why glycogen stores tends to increase? Because the glycolysis get inhibited. This occurs as a consequence of fat mobilization and the use of free fatty acid for energy production. As a consequence of hyperglycemia, insulin secretion increases. Hyperglycemia, this is an effect of growth hormone on growth hormone production, since insulin has a protein anabolic effect. Okay, for protein insulin has anabolic effect, and for fat and carbohydrate catabolic effect. Next, effects on mineral metabolism. Growth hormone promotes bone mineralization in growing children. This effect of growth hormone is probably mediated through insulin like growth factor IGF-1, which causes positive balance of calcium, phosphate and magnesium. It promotes renal absorption of calcium, phosphate and sodium. It also promotes the retention of sodium, potassium and calcium in the body. Now the last effects on lactation. So growth hormone enhances milk production in lactating animals. Growth hormone acts like prolactin, therefore this action is referred as prolactin like effect of growth hormone. Okay, next part is the abnormalities of growth hormone secretion. Okay, so first abnormality that has been seen, that is named as gigantism, that means giant appearance. So it is a clinical condition resulting from hypersecretion of growth hormone. Overproduction of growth hormone results gigantism in growing children. Point to be noted that this gigantism refers to the growing children. That means it occurs when the hypersecretion of children's occurs, that results gigantism. Okay, before the closure of epiphysis of long bones. So this is a shaft. Okay, maybe this is the shoulder joint, and here is the another long bone that is named as humerus. Okay, so what happens that here in between the shaft and the epiphysis, this area get proliferated by the bone forming cells. Okay, and there occurs the fusion of the shaft and the epiphysis. Shaft and the epiphysis. Epiphysis. So once this epiphysis and shaft get fused with each other, there is no place of growth. Okay, so that is why that enlargement gets stopped. Our height does not increase with time after a certain time. Okay, because of the closure of the epiphysis and shaft, and only this can happen at this stage of growing children. Okay, so that is why gigantism, that means tallness. Okay, taller than normal, it occurs at the age of childhood. Okay, so that is the closure of epiphysis of long bones, and that results gigantism. Delayed, definitely epiphysis and shaft closure is delayed. That is why what happens that it gets delayed. That means it is a shaft and there is a long bone. So if this process is delayed, so there is the enlargement. That means a person get tall and tall and tall and tall. Okay, but for normal human, after a certain age, epiphysis and shaft get close. Next, what are the symptoms of this gigantism? This person is gigantism attacked person. So abnormal height, excessive growth of long bones, that means the epiphysis, results in abnormal height 7 to 8 feet with huge status, and the person becomes giant. Large hands and feet, okay. Coarse facial features, that means thick lips, and macroglossia, that means the enlarged tongue. Enlarged tongue means macroglossia and thickness. Next, the bilateral gynecomastia. Bilateral gynecomastia means enlargement of breast in male may be associated, that is the bilateral gynecomastia. Loss of libido, that means impotence may be there, that means loss of libido means loss of sexual desires, okay. And the hyperglycemia caused by growth hormone. Hyperglycemia means when the sugar level drops, hyperglycemia means when sugar level gets high, so that is the hyperglycemia caused by growth hormone, leads to excess insulin secretion, overactivity of beta cells of pancreas, ultimately leads to degeneration of these cells and deficiency of insulin, resulting in diabetes mellitus, okay. That is why there occurs diabetes mellitus. So if gigantism comes in your exam as a short note, you have to write what is gigantism, and specifically you have to mention that it occurs for growing children, okay, before the closure of epiphysis and long bones. Next, you have to write the features of the features of this gigantism, okay, that is the abnormal height, large hands and feet, coarse facial features like thick lips, macroglossia, enlargement of tongue and thickness, bilateral gynecomastia like enlargement of breast, loss of libido, loss of sexual desire, hyperglycemia, and that cause the diabetes mellitus, okay. In the next part, we will see the cause of gigantism. Gigantism results because the overactivity, hyperactivity of the pituitary gland. Okay, so here occurs pituitary adenomas. Adenoma means tumor formation. Adenomas. Okay. So the most common genetic cause of gigantism is mutation. Mutation of a gene, that is AIP gene. AIP full form aryl hydrocarbon receptor interacting protein. What is the function of AIP? AIP gene is a tumor suppressor gene. So this gene is active, that means tumor remains suppressed. But if there is any alteration of this sequence of this gene will not remain same. Okay, so that mutation in AIP can lead to uncontrolled growth of the pituitary cells, forming pituitary adenomas, usually growth hormone secreting adenomas. These tumors cause excessive growth hormone production, leading to gigantism if it occurs before puberty. Okay. Next, another type of giantness, that is acromegaly. Okay, and it is a clinical condition that occurs due to excess of growth hormone in adults. So for adults it is acromegaly. Hypersecretion of growth hormone results acromegaly for adults, and gigantism for children. So here also occurs this acromegaly, this deposition of the cartilages, or the proliferation of the cartilage occurs at the thickness of the bones. Cartilage occurs at the age of adulthood. Okay, so that is why people may develop broader shoulder, broader enlarged jaw, okay, and causes excessive growth in those areas where cartilage persists. Okay, so this is the acromegaly, this person. Next, what are the symptoms? That is acromegalic face, which is characterized by thick lips, macroglossia, that means enlarged tongue, broad and thick nose, prominent eyebrows, thickened skin, and coarse facial features. Next is sin. Next characteristics, that is the next characteristics, that is prognathism, that is protrusion of the lower jaw due to elongation and widening of mandible associated with increased spacing of the teeth. So they are having spacing of the teeth, and also their jaw is protruded outside, enlarged jaw. Okay, it looks like that jaw is protruded out of her face, and the elongation and widening of mandible. Next is the acral part abnormalities include large spade-like hands, thick wide fingers, increase in head pad, large feet with increase in size of the shoes. Height is normal, build is stout and stocky. Kyphosis may occur due to improper vertebral growth. Okay, excessive growth of internal organs like cardiomegaly, that means the heart is enlarged, cardiomegaly. Hepatomegaly means liver cell enlarged, splenomegaly means spleen cells enlarged. Okay, and the renomegaly may be associated. So these are the sign and symptoms of acromegaly. So in this video we have seen the gigantism and acromegaly. Gigantism is for growing children and acromegaly is for the human adults. Okay, so hope this video seems helpful to you. So stay connected. Bye bye for now.